Welcome to the Big Screen Bulls podcast, a podcast where Caleb Kindle and Christian McCrite give their reviews and reactions to what's happening on the big screen. They talk about films, TV series, and other forms of media entertainment. Episodes are released every Monday. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast listening platform. Be sure to follow the show's Instagram page at Big Screen Bulls Podcast, where new hints and updates will be released about future episodes.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Big Screen Bulls Podcast, where you have my Rafiki, Christian McCrite here on the other line here.
Yeah, whatever that means.
It's Swahili for friend.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Happy Monday. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you. And again, what are we at our sixth one right now on the podcast?
This is episode 6, I believe. Yes.
Yeah, and guess what? It's not about Game of Thrones stuff.
That's
today.
right. We're moving into uncharted territory, and that's not the movie Uncharted. So,
kind of a theme with saying Rafiki is Swahili. We are actually reviewing and giving you our thoughts on Wakanda Forever.
yes, the new Marvel movie.
Oh, yeah. And we're going to format this one a little bit different. So we're actually, again, if you don't want spoilers on it, I know we've heard a lot of feedback from some of the other new movies that we had reviewed. People were scared of the spoilers aspect of things. So the first 10 minutes of this is going to be designated for non-spoiler content. The next of it will be for spoiler content. So we'll let you know before we get into the spoiler stuff.
Yeah.
But other than that, Christian, what do you think? Like, again, first thing that comes to my mind is when they push this out, this is only a 6-month delay from the original plan of when they were going to drop this movie.
Yes, that is correct.
Your lead character passes away, and you still have only just a 6-month delay.
Yeah.
And get it going again. So you have to rewrite the whole entire story. I guess what's your thought on your creative process behind that as well too?
So what I've heard from other people is that they were dealt, the worst hand possible.
Oh, 100%.
To have your lead actor, Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace, we love you, to have him pass from cancer, even though Ryan Coogler, the director, had already come up with the script for this movie to have Chadwick Boseman in it as the lead again. And to have the rug just dragged out from under their feet, that had to have been one, emotionally and physically and mentally so hard on everybody there.
Yeah.
And
just emotionally how it affects the whole entire cast as well too. Like again with these movies, and it's almost like a family bonding friendship all kind of gathered into one when building these movies, because you're spending so much time with these people, relating, communicating, and then just hearing how Chadwick Boseman's story had came up about as well too, of he was able to go to school on a scholarship provided by Denzel Washington, who had kind of funded that scholarship. He was just a really likable, lovable person, even off the screen as well too. And you have to try to go on and still try to live his memory out without him being there.
The expectations that come with that is insane, because as he got the part of Black Panther, he became a voice for millions of people. And it's such a great character. I followed him in some comics, a lot of TV shows, things of that nature. So this movie has to essentially be rewritten in a way that deals with not just the death of an actor, but the death of an iconic legend.
Yeah.
And, in and out of the movie. So, I'm going to go ahead and ask you, what did you think about this movie? Spoiler free still, of course, as a whole.
Again, it was, like you said, you were dealt a bad hand with this. You had to rebuild the whole entire script with the same pressure of Disney having over your shoulders say, hey, we still need to pump out some content over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So with all that being said, I think it was really well. I think they handled emotions very, very well.
Yeah.
Within this whole entire movie. And just, I know some people said it might have drug on in some ways at the beginning of it, but again, not going to beat into that too much. I just want to go back to, again, Chadwick Boseman, just when he comes into Civil War.
Yeah.
When that's the only time we ever known about vibranium, basically, was with Captain America's shield. And you have somebody that comes out that's tricked out in all
He's
vibranium.
Decked out.
And I'll never forget that scene where claws hit the shield
and scratched it
and actually leave an indentation of this could actually do some damage to the shield that nothing can ever damage or hurt. Thor's hammer could drop a whole entire bolt of lightning into it. Trying to think of other feats that it had that was able just to deflect anything without even a scratch on it.
The immense durability of vibranium is insane.
Yeah,
and he was the gateway to that. And he was the gateway to a completely different culture on the same planet that everyone else lives on.
Yeah, and have a character as well, too, that learns all the lessons along the way as well, too.
Yeah.
Again, that was a huge learning moment, I think, in Civil War when you see the nobility and the mercy that Black Panther was at that time. Right. And they really wanted to build upon that more. And maybe I was thinking before this movie came out as well, too, like you were going to challenge that nobility. I know Killmonger and the first Black Panther, he challenged that nobility that Chadwick Boseman's Black Panther had of T'Challa. Yeah, and it was a moral dilemma that he had to fight through to be able to become strong enough to defeat him and have to fight his own moral battles in his own head to try to save the sins of his father. But
yeah, so this movie deals with, at the heart of the entire movie is a family dealing with grief, dealing with loss, and how to move forward from that. This movie is ultimately, like, while it does have its own story, it is a tribute to what Chadwick Boseman's Black Panther has left behind. And it was enjoyable. Yeah. I just recently saw this. Incidentally, I was in a theater all by myself. So without any distractions, nobody else in the room, I got to really soak this movie in. And emotionally, as you said, like, they have a lot on their shoulders, but they pay it off pretty well. Because emotion is at the heart of this movie. It doesn't try to just kind of slide it under the rug and be a normal Marvel movie. It puts the emotions and the grief and the pain of loss and suffering at the heart of the story, which does help quite a bit because other parts of this movie aren't very well structured. Like, not in a mean way, because they were dealt in awful hands. So you have to understand that, like, while structurally, story-wise, it's not a perfect movie by any means. It suffers quite a bit, but this movie is carried by the emotions that the cast, the actors, the crew, everybody involved in this, and the characters in that story. This movie is carried by the emotional weight that they bring onto the screen.
On top of all that, you had a lot of actors as well, too, I think, that stepped up and were able to become great actors. And they were casted for a lot of these roles and stuff like that, too, to really keep you invested in this as well, too, even though that the person we were the most invested into wasn't able to continue this journey.
Right.
I guess, what do you have any other thoughts, just overall thoughts on the movie as well, too?
So just general thoughts. The movie looks fantastic. The visual effects of this movie are outstanding, and definitely a little bit of a breath of fresh air compared to some of the past few Marvel movies.
Yeah, where they just really rushed a lot of the CGI and stuff.
So this one was definitely a fresh breath of air in most cases. Riri Williams' Ironheart is a welcome addition to the MCU. I thought that her actor did a very good job. She's very charismatic. Not a huge fan of the design of her suit, but I guess I never really have been. Like it definitely looks very Power Ranger like to me, and I'm not meaning that as a compliment.
Yeah, that's a Big Hero 6.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
that's what I kind of got out of it. It's like the armored version of Big Hero 6.
Yeah,
is put
and
into it.
It threw me off just a little bit because it's very different from the rest of the movie. But exploring the culture of they're technically the Atlanteans, but they're not supposed to. But I mean, it's not
the main villains,
right? Like, but they obviously don't call themselves the Atlanteans. But the villain, I actually really liked him. He is, I mean, not only is he strong and powerful, but he's also like, he has heart to him as well. I did enjoy that. Shuri, as T'Challa's younger sister, really steps up as the current Black Panther. And the mom, played by Angela Bassett, she is fantastic in this movie.
When I talk about actors that really stepped up to, that's kind of I was referring to was Angela Bassett. Like, again, she's a world-renowned actor to begin with.
Yeah.
But I thought she put together a lot of the pieces and carried the first act in some of this.
Yeah. So this movie is like 2 hours and 40 minutes long.
Oh, it's long.
It's long. It does kind of show it because I felt like they had to kind of shoehorn a few things in to kind of keep the movie going a little bit. Yeah. The plot suffers a little bit, but everything else is really good. The characters are good. I like what they did with most of them. And I enjoy the CGI. I enjoyed the music. The music was awesome. I enjoyed exploring the underwater empire and their culture and the way they do things. Super neat. Love that. Yeah. So overall, because if you haven't seen the movie, we're still in spoiler free. I'm going to go ahead and give my rating of this movie out of 10 popcorn bowls. So there's a lot of things I liked, a lot of things, there's a handful of things that I didn't. So please go watch the movie, and when we get into spoilers, I'll go more into depth of that. But I'm going to give this movie about, I'd say, a 7.5 popcorn bowls out of 10. So I think it did a really good job of the hand that it was dealt, but it still suffers in other areas.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm going to get very, very close to where you're at as well, too. I was honestly teetering on the 7.5 and 7 mark on my popcorn bowl estimate meter that I had going here. We have handy dandy gadgets that we punch all this information into.
Oh yeah.
Just kidding. We base this off our heads, but I'm going to rank it a 7 out of 10 popcorn bowls.
Okay.
It's a really good movie compared to Phase 4. It's one of the best that's in Phase 4, but
it's a good one. Yeah.
When you compare it to a lot of the other Marvel franchises movies that were out there that really did bring you in and was the perfect harmony of action and emotion. But yeah, I would say definitely go watch this movie though.
Definitely go watch it.
Before we go into spoilers and stuff like that, like, again, when you compare this to the last movie we went into, Black Adam, like, this is a lot better than Black Adam. Again, we almost had to, like, Marvel movies have to be taken on a whole different scale than a lot of other movies out there, especially DCU movies, just because of some of the writers that are going with all this stuff. But again, go watch it.
Yeah, please go watch it. Yeah, support the people who make these movies. They worked really hard on this with the hand they were dealt. They did a wonderful job of being able to do as much as they could. Yep. And I am excited to see where it goes.
Yep, and I think Chadwick Boseman as well too is kind of looking down upon this and really wants to see his legacy live on.
Right.
So help live his legacy on. Help live the people that he's loved. Live this legacy on. But other than that, we're gonna get straight into the nitty gritty here. So if you want to log off, thanks for joining.
Spoiler warning now. Getting into the spoilers from this point on. All right, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
Han Solo dies.
I'm just going to be honest. But it's so weird when Optimus Prime came in. And no.
I guess first spoiler, again, start of the movie when it comes out. I really like how they played that off, to be honest, that Chadwick Boseman had King T'Challa ended up dying from a mysterious disease that came about to kill him. Almost like it was like how it was in real life, where in Chadwick Boseman, he actually had done this as well too. When he was suffering through cancer, he did his best to hide it from everybody as well too, to not let it be his crutch in his life.
Right.
So I like how they kind of even brought that. It's almost like you unified the character of King T'Challa and Chadwick Boseman there. And I know some people said I would like him to die in a more of a heroic fashion. Some people didn't like it, but I really thought it brought that much more emotion into the scene because that's the truth of it almost.
Right. It's almost like the line between reality and fiction were kind of blurred.
Yeah.
And that actually, I agree. I think that does help a lot of the emotion, because it almost puts like, you could have like some guy in a Black Panther suit, with all the CGI. They could just have some guy with, with the mask on, and they can go and I don't know, fight Namor or something like that and die some heroic death. But in this way, like, it almost seemed like it seems just like real life, a situation that was out of our control.
Yeah.
And being able to deal with that is one of the hardest things in life.
Yeah. And the character development it gives to the other actors in the supporting role as well too. I think it's more emotional for them that it happened this way compared to like a freak accident of something happened. Like, I think that's really important. How it's like how Shuri is like feels like it's almost her fault because she was trying to get this cure all put together, and she's working. Like she's
working her tail off.
She can't even see him because she's working so hard to be able to re-replicate the heart-shaped flower fruit and be able to give to him to think that will save him.
And then it's too late.
Yeah. And
they have the ceremony. They bury him, and this movie kind of at first it really starts going. It starts putting in scene after scene after scene, and they put Namor in this movie pretty early. Actually, like he just shows up. Like the Queen and Shuri are having a conversation because like she's trying to help her daughter get over this loss and kind of trying to find comfort and peace. And she's like, no, like we just, tell ourselves and make images in our head that like basically are just constructs, and they are just trying to help us cope. And I'm just not about that right now.
Yeah. And Shuri is a firm believer of, she doesn't believe in, like what's their afterlife, the plane.
Yeah. Like the ancestral plane.
The ancestral plane. Yeah. She doesn't believe in the ancestral plane at all. She doesn't want to believe in any of this stuff. She doesn't believe in their gods that they had as well too. So yeah, exactly. That's the point that she's like, oh, mom, or the Queen Ramonda tells this big story of like, I've been able to cope with this because I'm able to go into like kind of the bush here. I've been able to see nature, and I feel your brother King T'Challa sitting over me.
You did it.
The air that breathes into my lungs, I feel it's from him, and I feel peace with that.
Yeah. And then Namor shows up.
Oh,
he just comes out of the water, and he's like, yo, they're these guys, and they had a way to find vibranium in the bottom of the ocean floor. And the Wakandas are floored by this because they're like, no way, there's only vibranium in Wakanda. And he's like, well, no. And Shuri like points to him and is like, he's literally decked out in vibranium. And he's good though. So Namor is really cool. He's got wings on his feet. Yeah, he like flies. He has all sorts of powers. He's superhuman strength, everything. So he basically just comes up and says, hey, I found these guys who were trying to get vibranium, and I took care of them. And so
I would like your help. Yeah, I would like your help basically to declare war on the whole entire world.
Yeah, on the surface world, because like we're supposed to protect each other, and we're from advanced civilizations. So he just drops his conch shell off, and he's like, hey, blow into this thing, put it in the water, and I'll be there. And obviously the Wakandans are a little hostile to him at first, and he just leaves. Things start to cascade before eventually Shuri and Okoye have to get the scientist that was responsible for the machine that's able to detect vibranium, which is Riri Williams' Ironheart. What did you think about her character?
Again, for this whole entire movie, the whole broad picture of it. Again, I like what they did at the beginning. Shows again she's a genius, MIT, almost maybe in a way where Peter Parker runs into her at some point. It'd be kind of funny.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Catch off of it. But other than that, I think in the second half of the movie, they kind of like forget about her until the very ending fight scene where it's like, oh, I gotta help you guys fight off the enemy now, and because you guys fought so hard to keep me alive. That was kind of the last hour of the movie. That was the only time that she had on
like anything to do for a while.
Other than that, I guess just to play my whole entire hand out here of what I didn't like, and then just go shortly into what I did like.
Sure.
I also didn't like the big comparison with Tony Stark's first origin. I feel like that was unique to him, of how and again the references was basically building a suit out of scratch and a lair, whatever it would be,
a cave,
and even shows her having kind of the same hammer movements as well too in building the suit. And then the second piece of it, flying into the atmosphere and running out of oxygen and freezing over and having to fall back down.
Yeah, she didn't even freeze over. She just ran out of oxygen, just passed out. And her suit was definitely when she first started to fly it. So Shuri and Okoye, they go and get her, to find her and bring her to Wakanda, basically to answer. And then she shows him her secret lair of stuff she's been working on. And all of a sudden, the FBI shows up and whatnot, or the CIA. And all of a sudden she has this Ironheart suit kind of ready, and she just starts using it, and which is kind of interesting. I'm sure we'll get more of that in her TV show, but I agree, it's an interesting callback to Tony Stark, that she, she's beaten on the metal and whatnot. But I also agree that that was kind of unique to Tony Stark, and I understand that that's part of the process of building a metal suit, but when the Armor Wars movie comes out, that stars the Iron Patriot. I don't know if he's still in the Iron Patriot, but War Machine, with Don Cheadle. It's obviously going to be about a bunch of people across the world who have access to this kind of technology with these kind of suits. I don't need every last one of them to have a scene of their own where they're beating on some sort of metal thing to show that I can make a suit. It's we get it. I'm not interested in that, because that's been done, and the best person who could do that has been done and over. So, anyways,
and I think as well too, of course, Disney has to, and they've been doing more on this kind of more of that agenda of equality, and I understand that as well too. But I just hope they can make people if you want people of diversity to have equality within these movies and stuff like that, don't give them the same exact role and same exact plot line.
Yeah, don't repeat it. Give something unique to each person.
Exactly. And that's what they deserve too, compared to having to relive a Tony Stark, or trying to catch a high of somebody off of what former glory was.
And she has her own life. She is at Cambridge University, and she's still a student, so she was younger than Tony Stark, obviously. But as soon as they got into her lair and Shuri saw it, she was immediately is that Stark tech? Is that Stark tech? And she's well, she tries to kind of explain it, and I feel like everything else was just oh yeah, she has a suit, she goes to Wakanda, she gets a better suit, and then she fights some people, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's pretty much her character,
and that's what
for the rest of the movie.
I really wish it would have kind of set her up to have the Ironheart come out first, the TV series, and then kind of lead in maybe the first season she's just building the suit and getting into it, goes into her life story, and then really they catch her in the middle of this time where she's still working on everything to go from there. But that's what I thought about it. What she did good though, I thought she was a pretty good actress.
Yeah,
I agree. For the most part, she was very good actress. I think she had some good funny scenes within it as well.
She did,
too, where it was the throwing Oh, you brought a spear in here?
Yeah,
She brought a spear in here.
Yeah, they like raid her apartment. She like throws like one of her speakers, and Okoye just like unleashes her spear and it like cuts in half. She's like, "You brought a spear," and she grabs another speaker, getting ready to throw it again. And so there are some funny moments, but and they do something interesting with her later. But what else did you not like about the movie?
I like they tried their hardest too, and I could still see it as well too. It's like Aquaman did it first, like we can't name this Atlantis anymore. We have to name it something completely different and try to make it different because DC beat us to the punchline once in their lives. But I'm trying to think that's still not a bad thing, I guess. I think just the beginning of it, it really calls on that emotion aspect of things, of the death of King T'Challa, trying to rebuild a new life. It really focuses on the world, looking into Wakanda as well too, that the last Black Panther is now dead. It's our time to attack Wakanda. It's our time to take advantage of Wakanda to get this sweet, sweet vibranium. That was awesome. That was kind of more of that political, that emotional kind of drama compared to what other MCU movies are. And then the second half of it really did turn into an MCU movie where they're all just flying around, shooting each other, punching each other. And
so I agree.
And in the end there, it's like, all right, all these Wakandans die, brought them all out in the middle of the water, and only a handful of them live. Don't worry, we're all forgiven. With all the death.
It kind of felt like a cop-out a little bit. And this actually, I'm going to segue this into something I at first didn't really like about the movie. Shuri's character is obviously very vengeful. Like, she's lost her family and she wants vengeance. She wants Namor dead. Because at first she's like, oh, I want to protect Riri. Like, there doesn't need to be a war. Like, I won't stand for you killing this innocent person. And then she obviously, so the queen dies. Her mom dies after Namor and some more Atlanteans, but they're not called Atlanteans. The Empire is actually called Talokan.
Talokan, yeah.
They attack Wakanda, and Namor basically attacks, well, the throne room, and it with these water bombs, which are super cool. Really like those.
I love the whole entire the people as well too that Namor kind of represents.
Yeah,
within the Empire, like again, they're like even to their sirens that they have.
Yeah, they have like these supersonic abilities to be able to talk and make people jump into the water. Like, that's freaky and super cool. And then that's how they're kind of introduced in this movie, and it's actually super freaky. And it's like, these guys are cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't root for them, but
yeah. But at the same time, though, another thing that does really well is it shows them as, hey, we're just a people that want to live in peace. We have no care for the outside world having effect on our lives. The perfect world, we don't want them to die. We hope they don't want us to die.
Yeah.
But we've seen what they've done before in the past, and we are willing to do what it takes to protect our people.
Especially since, like, he points the finger at T'Challa specifically and says, because of him, vibranium is now known through the world, be it from your place. Well, we have vibranium too. How long before they come to us and want to plunder it from our people? And he's like, I'm not doing that. He's like, that's not going to happen. Two nations built on vibranium and the whole concept of using it should band together against the people who want to exploit our resources. So, like, in a sense, you can kind of understand, like, politically and maybe, like, nationally where he's coming from.
Yeah, and Namor in the comics are the exact same. You see...
Except for he calls it Atlantis.
Yeah, except he calls it Atlantis. But you see, he's exactly like that. He's like, he's very reasonable, very nice, all these things, but he's also can turn the switch and be your worst enemy too in just a quarter of a second.
He invites Shuri, or wait, Shuri wants to be taken to Talokan with Riri, who is the scientist who Namor wants to capture and kill. And Namor pretty much just, invites her into his home, and he's like, hey, this is my backstory. He gives her his backstory. Here's my Dungeons and Dragons backstory. Here's how I became an underwater god.
Yeah. And they hint the mutant.
Yeah, he says the word mutant, which is
to.
super interesting.
Yeah.
Hint. But he invites her into home. He's super hospitable to her.
Yep.
And like the prison that they're staying in is actually like super nice. There's even like a little hammock and like a rug underneath. And I'm like, they tried. So
yeah, even though they don't even live on the surface.
So like they're not bad people. Like every nation or every person just has their different motive. And so for him, it was interesting to see that aspect and to see their culture. And Shuri's like enjoying it. She's meeting some of the people. She likes them. And then Nakia comes in and shoots somebody, and it's stuff all off. So then the attack happens on Wakanda, and the queen is drowned while trying to save Riri. And Riri is able to be revived. The queen is not. So anyways, going back to what I was not liking it from this point is because Shuri becomes obsessed with vengeance, and she is able to artificially recreate the flower that's able to give the Black Panther power. And she goes into the ancestral plane, and she doesn't see her mom. She doesn't even see T'Challa. She sees Killmonger, which I thought was a really good choice.
I loved it. Yeah, I loved how they did that. Like, because again, like I thought they were going to try to have a CGI Chadwick Boseman basically try to talk to her.
Yeah, and I felt like that would have been not like disrespectful, but not a very good creative choice.
Yep.
Like in the stead of Chadwick Boseman. So he's basically like, your brother was noble, but I was willing to do what it takes to get business done. So what are you going to do? And she's like, well, I'm going to get business done. And Chadwick Boseman and Black Panther in Civil War kind of takes this route at first. And I pieced this together just a little bit ago. But in Civil War, Black Panther was obsessed with vengeance until he was like, I've seen what it does to people. Like, I'm not going to do this anymore. He was hunting after one man. And because he was hunting after one man, I kind of get that. But he finds, he redeems himself at the end, being like, I'm done being vengeful. My father's dead. And this is not my way to live on. This is not a good way for me to live on his memory with. Shuri is like pointing fingers at the rest of Wakanda. And she's like, I want to kill this man, and you're all going to help me. And I'm like, if I was M'Baku, who's like listening to her say this, I'd be like, screw you. Like, oh my gosh, like you're going to put all these people in danger because you want this person dead. But no, he doesn't say anything. He just kind of like makes a grunt noise. And the very next scene, they're all literally just rushing to battle. And I didn't like that. I did not like that person. I felt like it should have been more of Shuri personally pursuing Namor from a personal standpoint, one-on-one, and actually being able to, one, fight him. That was a pretty cool fight scene at the end.
Beautiful.
But also to have a conversation and really come to terms with, like, you had the Black Panther power. I felt like it would have been a better choice to have, like, you had the Black Panther power, but because of your vengeance, your nation decided not to follow you. But no, they just blindly follow her into battle because she just turns everyone and is like, I'm going to kill this guy and you're all going to help me no matter what because I'm the Black Panther. And I'm like, I don't like that. Nor do I think that even if that happened to T'Challa's father, I don't think he would have done that either. But I can't fully compare the two because they're two different people. But the story is still there of like she's almost ready to kill him and she sees a vision of her mom and it's like, remember who you are. And I'm like, I know exactly who she is. Like, she's a person who doesn't believe in the ancestral plane and is super vengeful to a point where she's allowing her nation, her country, and other innocent people to be murdered so she can get her shot at revenge. And for me personally, that's probably why I, whenever I said 7.5, that probably seemed a little low for the high praises that we gave it on other marks, but it's because that character choice kind of threw me for a loop.
No, 100%. I'm just going to go just real quick on the last little two nitpicky stuff on what I didn't like about it as well too, before we could start hammering away on what it did amazingly, because it did a lot of things amazing. But the whole entire Agent Ross line, I think the movie would have been better just like if you just cut all that out. Like maybe it'd have been good just to see him at the beginning, just to find out who the scientist was, and then go from there and just kind of leave him alone. But like I feel like he ate up a lot of screen time, and his relationship with the director, a lot of it was just not needed, I don't think.
Did he add anything to the story?
I don't think. Yeah.
So I don't think so.
I think he just like talked to somebody on the phone about it, and I know it's setting up for oh gosh, I can't the series that's going to be coming out with all the
Thunderbolts.
Yeah, the Thunderbolts.
Oh yeah, I can probably see that, but they spend like a handful of scenes with him, and he's just like, oh yeah, they saved my life, so I'm gonna call them and say, hey, you guys might be in trouble. But the
and they don't tell him about like what's going on, so he doesn't even know what the heck's going on this whole entire time.
But also, none of the regular armies of the surface world even try to pursue Wakanda. They talk about it 3 times, like, oh well, all the nations of the world are going to think that Wakanda did this and Wakanda did that, and they don't do anything. It literally goes nowhere. It goes nowhere, and I'm like, that's frustrating. So you could have cut out maybe like 10, 15 minutes of screen time.
Yeah,
if we cut that out,
and for a 2 hour and 40-minute movie, like again, a lot of it dragged on in some ways. That's something that drug on. We could have saved people some time. That, and then I really wanted to see him do more with M'Baku.
Yeah, I felt like he was kind of pushed a little bit to the side.
I think Winston Duke's an amazing actor.
I do too. I really like him.
I've seen him in some other stuff, but like he just plays that role so well, like that kind of that brute, like strong arm, but is now starting to gain the wisdom and stuff like that from learning from T'Challa and learning from all these battles and wars that he's been through. You're seeing him become more aged, and you're seeing more character development on the side of things. And even the scenes that he did have, I think he was able to command those scenes super well.
I agree.
Like, and speaking with so much, like, you wouldn't think this guy was the guy that was speaking with logic, but he goes into and says, like, it's like King T'Challa was a king, the queen was a queen, Namor, Kiki, Khan,
Cuckoo
Khan is a god to them.
And if we kill him, then we will officially wage war on their entire species or their entire race, because like that's pretty much worse than killing a king. Yeah.
You're going to have a battle or a war that will never end until everybody dies on one side.
Yep. But I mean, that's some things we didn't like about the movie.
Yeah. Or even the moment too, where he gets like punched in the chest and he flies back and he's like, breathing to become alive. I thought that was going to be the perfect moment, or he was going to become the next Black Panther, and he would be the one that could have had this fight with Namor and really put himself in that one of the core actors that would lead the movie for the future.
But on to some of the amazing stuff. I'm just going to go ahead and say some of the things real quick. CGI, fantastic. Music, fantastic. The emotional, I talked about this in the spoiler-free portion, but the emotional weight that Shuri and her mom bring to this movie is outstanding. They really sell this as not just as an actress, but also as a character. They're both mourning at the same time.
Yeah.
They're both in pain. They're both have suffered loss, both in and out of the production of that movie. Yep. And that really shows, and that is its strongest suit by a mile. The strongest scenes, the best scenes in this movie are not the action scenes. It's the scenes where you see their emotional adaptation to this situation they're in come to life.
Yeah. That, and even when we talk, I know I said too, like the even the acting and the thoughts behind the Mayan people that it's based off of as well too. Namor's people,
the
Talokan, like they're not dead. They haven't been wiped from it. Namor's still alive,
and he's got a plan.
Like, I thought that was like usually every Marvel movie, it's like enemy dies, we forget about them, we go on to the next thing.
Or they don't die and we reuse them for like comedic relief somewhere.
Yeah.
It's like, this one's different.
Yeah. This one's plotting. It's going to be a future problem as well, too.
Slightly rooting for him.
Yeah.
I like him. I like this character.
Yeah. He's pretty cool. So I really did like that with it. I really love the ending.
Yeah.
I really thought that would call it back to have
well, like the ending or the mid credit scene.
Yeah, the end credit scene, I guess. Well, and this movie as well too only has one end credit scene.
Yeah, it's got one end credit scene, and it's a good one.
Oh,
it's a really good one.
That's what I was thinking myself. I watched it and I was like, man, that was really good. I'm curious to know what the other one's going to be.
Yeah.
And
so
they were like, everybody get out of here. There was not going to be 2 credits. I was like,
yeah,
Marvel, you were consistent my whole life.
and now, so in the post credit scene, Doctor Doom and Mr. Fantastic. I'm kidding. No, there's no big cameo, so don't go in expecting that. What it does is it's a piece that adds to the overall story, and that is important. Go ahead and tell them what happens.
And they've watched as well too, so they know. But King T'Challa has a son.
But also for the people who like spoilers, because there are people that I've talked to who like spoilers without going to go see the movie. So this is also for them as well.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Well, yeah, this is so basically everything's been resolved. The Atlantic people kind of go back to their homes, and Shuri's finally starting to mourn the loss of her brother and really understand what it is to be the Black Panther. And she's sitting on the beach. She said she wants to be alone so that she can burn the gown that she wore during his funeral, which usually means the time of mourning is over in a lot of African cultures. And at that time, while she's sitting there really kind of soaking in that moment, Nakia comes out with a little boy. And this is mine and T'Challa's son. This is his name. But he cuts his mother off almost and says, "That's my human name, or my
Haitian name.
My Haitian name, but my Wakanda name is T'Challa, Prince T'Challa."
Yeah, and I'm like, yes.
And I am the only heir of King T'Challa, the Black Panther.
Yeah, it's super cool. First of all, the kid says it like he's rehearsed it.
Oh yeah, that's what I feel like they did a pretty good job handpicking a good actor for that role. But
yeah, he's I got this.
It brings down that, like, I liked Shuri as the Black Panther, but I don't think she needs to be the consistent face.
I agree.
Of the franchise. Like, she's known to be the smart, the analytical one.
The supporter.
Yeah.
Because I personally, after seeing this movie, I don't think she's that great of a leader.
Yeah.
And because of that, I feel like she's a good interim for Black Panther, as in, like, my brother has passed, my mother has passed, so I must take the mantle temporarily to kind of try to resolve this dispute, which is important enough. Yeah. But I feel like after a while, like, I feel like now I'm rooting for this kid to grow up and to be not the next Chadwick Boseman, but the next King T'Challa II in his own right, as a different iteration of the same character. I don't want him to recreate, nor do I have the expectation of him being exactly what the first Black Panther did, but I want something new to come out of it.
Oh yeah, and with all that happening, we cut to the scene back in Wakanda, and you have M'Baku, who is at the ancestral battleground.
Yeah, the waterfall, the water chanting and dancing.
Yeah, it's like, I would like to try for.
I would like to challenge for the throne.
I would like to challenge for the throne. Yeah,
so which is super interesting because he could be the king of Wakanda.
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking as well too. Just thinking forward, if like Shuri's like, I don't care for the crown. Like, I've never wanted to be queen. I worked too hard to work in politics and stuff like that. I'd rather be a scientist and work on all this. And you can be the king because you have showed so much wisdom.
Yeah, I totally agree. So I think that M'Baku would make a really good king, especially with all the wisdom that he's gained, and he really looks out for his people.
Yeah, I think so too. And even, he basically saved all the Wakandans that go to his place, welcomes them. And
yeah. So anyways, for me, 7.5 popcorn bowls out of 10. That's what I give it. As you've listened to this whole thing, there's a lot of things I love about it, and there's a handful of things that I don't like. So that's just me personally.
And we're going to talk about what we don't like more, just so we can, again, get more rise out of you guys and make you think a little bit more, because this movie did a lot of good stuff.
Right, because with all the things that we like, they're easy to like. It's so easy. It doesn't need a huge explanation for why you love them.
Yeah.
But for things that you don't like, it's you kind of have to articulate it and be able to really speak on it to get people to understand, hey, like, this is just my personal preference. These kind of choices I'm not a huge fan of, and that's why, like, I didn't give this a 10 out of 10.
And that's what it means to be a bowl, be objective.
Quick question before we actually wrap things up. Did you like this more than the first more than the first Black Panther movie? Less, same, or do you think that they're not even comparable?
Again, I think they're two separate movies.
Yeah.
It's two separate situations. Again, you have the second one that's more emotional pulling, try to as a memorial to Chadwick Boseman, and then the first one being its action movie counterpart and really building out King T'Challa as a character,
right?
Really introducing Killmonger and introducing like Wakanda into the MCU universe and what it will do to help out.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think that, like, for me, this movie is less of a sequel to me and more of like the movie is inviting the audience to help us all grieve and mourn the loss of Chadwick Boseman. May he rest in peace. Yeah. And I feel like it does accomplish that.
Yep. And I think the MCU needed a lot of direction coming into this movie with Mayhem and Madness kind of not giving us what we wanted. With Thor, Love and Thunder not giving us what we wanted as well too, with kind of leaving things a little bit blank as well too, where the future is going to be within the universe. And this really did give it of, hey, there's going to be villains for the future.
Some new plot threads.
There's going to be issues that arise with the rest of the world in Wakanda after all these people were killed that we're going to have to fight through one day. Are they going to tell Namor more? Are they not? Are they going to?
Yeah. Some interesting stuff left.
Who can they bring into the scene to help them out to battle that?
Well, I hope at some point you're prepared to answer the question of if you like it better or worse than the first Black Panther movie, because, and this is a hint out to all, it's less of a hint, I'm more just blatantly telling you, our next handful of episodes, we are going to rank all 30, it's now at 30, which is awesome, even number, all 30 Marvel movies up to date, including Black Panther, Wakanda Forever.
Dun, dun, dun.
So we'll get to talk about Thor, Love and Thunder, the Multiverse of Madness, both Black Panther movies, and all the rest of them in its entirety. So we are going to split it up amongst around 4 episodes, because we're going to go the back 10, the middle 10, and then in the top 10, we'll split that in half, 10 to 6, and then 5 to 1. So be prepared for that.
Perfect. But yeah, go watch the movie, of course.
Yes.
Movie's great. Whether it be 7 out of 10 and 10 out of 10.
It's worth a watch for sure.
Yeah, 10 out of 10, our ranking of 10 out of 10 would be you go to the movie every single week and you watch that thing.
And you watch this movie.
But guys, thanks for joining with us today in this conversation. Take care. Please like, subscribe, follow us at the Big Screen Bowls podcast on Instagram, and make sure to like, share, subscribe on all of our podcast outlets, and let you know too, we're actually on Apple right now as well too.
We are.
For you Apple goers, you iOS users, I am one of you. I do not listen to the podcasts on iOS normally, but we thank you, Apple, for letting us join your streaming service, and I'll probably have to listen into on Apple every once in a while. So
yeah, and have a wonderful day.
Have a bowl day.
#BowlNation.